What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Richard Prophet. Welcome back to the Prophet Realty Group channel, where we talk about everything and anything that's related to real estate. But today, we're talking watches. Now, the other day, I'm on the computer, and I'm just, going through the comments, emails, and stuff that we get from the YouTube. And someone, part of our family here on the channel, asked a question. He asks, "Hey, Prophet, why do you call that the LandLord watch?" Right? Because everybody knows that I call the Rolex Submariner the LandLord watch. So, I give him quick little explanation. I grew up in Manhattan by Central Park, and the landlord, our landlord growing up, he had this watch. So, whenever I saw him, I saw the watch. So, boom, it becomes the LandLord watch, right? But, after I start thinking about it, it really goes deeper than that. I really have a connection with this watch, a really deep connection. And, I grab a pen, I grab, a little pad, and, stuff, the memories, they come, that you may think they buried or whatever, but the memories, they just start pouring out. So, I wanted to make a video about it and tell you the story. I jotted a lot of stuff down, and I want to really tell you why I call it the LandLord watch. And the viewer's name is George Bungle. I told him that it was a fantastic question, and I was going to make a video about it and give him full credit, of course. So Georgie Bungle, here's the video, and here's a shout out to you, my friend. Oh, quick little note. Georgie also said that, he's in property as well, and his first decent watch was a two-tone Rolex Submariner, blue dial. And I was like, no way. That was my first real Rolex, a two-tone, blue face sub. And that might sound like BS, right? Like, oh, what a coincidence. But so I actually went and dug up some pictures of your boy with his first real Rolex on. See what's that on the wrist there? I don't know if you can see that too good, but let me see. I got a couple of them. I mean, the blue kind of comes out in this one a little bit. You see that? Let me see. All right, I'll show you this one. Remember, I was a young man at this time. Look at that. See that watch? See it there? Rolex two-tone bluesy, my first real Rolex. You know what, here you can see it good. See it there? On the airplane? See it there? I know you see that one. Look at the hair. Here's a better shot. See there, the crown? See, triangle on the top. Yeah, that's a good shot. I mean, that's obvious what that is. Yeah, and the date on these pictures, one of them has the date on it. Back then when you used to take pictures, the camera used to print the date on the bottom. So here, this looks like December 14th of 01. See that? So I got my first real Rolex 17 years ago. Wow. Yeah. Cheers to that. So we've come a long way in those 17 years. So let's dive right into this without further ado. So I'm gonna give a brief little history. Why, the sub has always been the landlord watch to me. Shit, I mean, even before I knew that it was a Rolex, I knew it as the landlord watch. So let me just, all right. All right. So when I was a boy, me and my mom and my dad lived on, like I said, on the west side of Manhattan by Central Park, right? In a small studio apartment. And in those days, every first of the month, the landlord would come around to each apartment and, collect the rent, right? And every time that my dad opened the door to hand him the rent, all that I see come in would be a hand, and he had this big steel watch, huge looking steel watch on it, and my dad had a little cheapy plastic watch, probably a Timex, right? So whenever the landlord came around to collect the rent, I saw the watch, it just burned into my memory. This is the landlord watch, right? So, it's crazy because whenever I saw the landlord, I began to look for the watch. When I saw him around the building, I would see him. I would look down on his wrist, and there it was, the watch, right, looking like magical, right, on his wrist. Yeah, to me, the watch, it seemed like it had superpowers, right? He would come, show the watch, and get money. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. So, whenever he came to collect the rent, the watch was there. Whenever he was at the building, with his workers doing repairs or whatever, the watch was there. And when we were getting evicted, the watch was there. The landlord showed up with the marshal and 3 workers. Unbeknownst to my mom and me, my dad, had a whole nother family in Queens, so he stopped paying the rent for a few months. And it's crazy, but you know how in the movies back in the day there was a running joke like, he went out to get a pack of cigarettes, or he went out to the store and he never came back. That actually happened to us. The night before, my dad told my mom that he was going out for a pack of cigarettes, and he never came back. I guess, he knew that we were going to be evicted the next day, and I guess, it was too much for him. He didn't want to be around. So, yeah. It's crazy, but, a lot of the things that you don't remember from your childhood, especially, when you're very young, well, me anyway, I've forgotten a lot of stuff, but this, this I remember. Anyway, yeah. Right. So anyway, all these people are here. My mom has no idea what's going on. My mother speaks very little English. One of the workers tells my mom that we got to get out, and So, they come in the apartment, they start grabbing our stuff. I mean, back then, if you got evicted, the landlord could come in right there, right immediately while you were being evicted. They could come in and grab your stuff and take it outside and put it, on the sidewalk for the garbage man or whatever. I mean, now it's a lot different. Things are run differently. The tenants have a lot of rights now, but back then that wasn't the case. So if you got evicted, they would grab your couch, your TV, whatever, and just throw it out, with the trash. And so, while they're putting our stuff out, I'm a boy. I don't know what's going on. I just know I look at my mom. My mom is crying. I look around. Everybody seems pretty sad. I mean, even the landlord, his eyes are, watering. But, I look at him, and of course I look down his wrist, and, there it is. There it is, on his wrist, the landlord watch. To me, it just seemed like, the S for Superman, the Excalibur, it just seemed like magic. Like whenever that watch was around, something happened. So, yeah. I'm not going to go on about, what happened after that or my life or whatever. That's another video. But just right there, I just knew that one day, I swore to myself. I swore to myself that one day I would get a landlord watch, and my mom wouldn't have to cry anymore. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So fast forward now, right, into the future. I'm a young man. I'm working for the city, in a career. I'm doing, okay for myself. Not great, but I'm doing okay. My friend has a business, and he needs a partner. He needs a quick little infusion of cash, and he needs a partner, help him come aboard, run things. And at that time, I'm looking to get in business. I don't want to be some 9-to-5 or forever, right? So I jump at the chance. I cash out my pension. At that time, I was vested with the city. They would let you take the cash if you wanted. So I cashed out my pension. I cashed out my stock portfolio. I had a small little stock portfolio. Cashed it out. Throw all the money into the business. So, boom, here we go. We're off and running. I'm bringing a lot of new energy to the business. Quick little influx of cash. So, we're running a couple years. We're doing, great. The business is completely turned around. We're doing fantastic. But again, realize what I did. I quit my job. Being the loyal person that I am, my friend needs my help. So I quit my career, my job, my career with the city to take this risk and go on board with my buddy just because he needed my help, right? Okay, so here we are. We're in business, and, we're running. And in those days, whenever you had a business, people would come around selling stuff, whether it was clothes, jewelry, baby clothes, power tools. Yeah, people came with drills to sell, right? So one day, this guy comes by. He was a client. He had bought, with me several times before. So he comes by and he says he's selling a watch. And I say, "You're selling a watch?" He says, "Yeah, I'm selling a watch." I said, "Okay, so, let me see it." And, he goes in his pocket. He takes out a, no box, no papers, but he takes out a watch. And, I look at the watch, and it's a two-tone Rolex Submariner, the one you see there in the pictures, the LandLord watch. It's the LandLord watch before I knew the LandLord watch was a Rolex. I just knew it was the LandLord watch. And, you know, after all these years have gone by, you know, I buried that deep. But, you know, that watch was burned in my psyche. I never forgot that watch. So I laid eyes on it again. I knew immediately, I got to have that. I don't care whatever you want for it. You know, that's mine. Shit. I knew that was my watch. So, you know, I play the game, whatever. Oh, yeah, so how much you want for it? And, you know, he said he wanted $1,500 for it, $1,500 for it. And I said, you know what? Okay, boom. Here's half the money. Come back tomorrow. Let me get it checked out. Make sure it's genuine. And I'll give you the other half. He said, okay, fine. As soon as he leaves, stick the watch in my pocket. I run immediately to Fordham Road in the Bronx. And, you know, I go into one of the jewelry shops. I say, please check this watch out for me, right? The guy inspects the watch. He said, look, this watch looks pretty new, and it's definitely genuine. What do you want to do with it? You want to sell it? I said, just give me back the watch. I take the watch, I put it on my wrist, and man, you know, we're off, we're running. you know what I'm saying? You know, I now got the LandLord watch on my wrist, right? My boy, you know, the guy comes back the next day. He asks for the money. I pay him, and I ask him, you know, by the way, how'd you get this watch? He said, oh, it fell off a truck. You know, I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. I didn't care. You know, I had, you know, the watch I had to have from, you know, I'm 6 years old. You know, the LandLord watch. I now own the LandLord watch, right? So now I know what this is. This is a Rolex, so I wear it everywhere, right? I mean, I'm wearing it to clubs. I'm wearing it to restaurants. You know, parties, baby showers, whatever. I mean, I'm wearing it when I find out that my friend sells the business from beneath me, right? He said it was because of stress, but the real reason was, you know what? That's not my truth to tell. That's his. So, you know, we're gonna just skip over that part. And so, whatever. I had a couple days to grab whatever I could. About 8 days. You know, so I lost. You know, I lost it all over again. All over again, you know, I'm back to zero. A couple $1,000s in my pocket. So I take off my watch. I put it in the drawer, and I buy a G-Shock, a Casio G-Shock watch. It had this big button in the middle that it would light up. It was like Indiglo. It was blue. And, you know, I strap that on, and I go back to work. You know, this time in the private sector, you know. Because the city wouldn't take me back because I quit on bad terms, you know, because I was behind my friend. So whatever, you know, I go back. I go back to work in the private sector. Whatever. I'm a hard worker. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm doing all this overtime. Whatever. A couple years, I save enough money for a down payment on a house. Right. So I buy this house, 2-family house, across the street from St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx, right? I paid, well, you know what? I had plans on living in the house at first, you know, living in one unit. It was a 2-family house, living in one unit and renting out the other. But the tenants, you know, as they do, refuse to leave. So I'm back and forth with the tenants to court and all the repairs and headaches. 3 years later, you know, I decide to sell the house, right? So when I bought the house, I paid $166,500 for the house. I put the house up for sale 3 years later, and in 10 days, I was in contract to sell the house for $475,000. You know what I mean? So we sell the house, I get the check, and I'm hooked. You know what I mean? My G-Shock off, the landlord watch back on my wrist. I'm back, baby. I quit my job, and I'm off. I'm off and running. Actually, I quit both my jobs. I had two jobs, but whatever. I quit my job. I'm off and running. I'm just, I got plenty of money in my pocket. I got great credit. I'm buying properties. So, actually, I gave that G-Shock watch to my friend's godson. He, whenever I would come around, he would want to hit the button, because he loved the light. So I took it off. I gave it to him, right? So he was happy with it. So anyway, again, here I am with the watch, and I'm wearing it everywhere, right? I'm wearing it to closings. I'm wearing it to banks. I'm wearing it to business meetings, out for drinks, house inspections, everywhere. I wear the watch. I wear the watch when I'm able to buy my mother a new car. I'm also wearing the watch when I pay off my mother's house. My stepdad, which is my dad because whatever. This man was the only real dad I ever known. So he passed untimely, and we had a house, but when he passed, my mom always worked, right, but he handled all the bills, so when he passed, there was all these payments due, bag lump sum due on the house, and my mom couldn't she couldn't deal with that. So I was wearing the watch when I took my mom to the closing, and I handed her a certified check for the balance of her house, and I told her, look, Mom, you'll never be evicted again. So I paid off her house, and I was wearing the landlord watch when I did that. I know my dad was looking at me. He was proud, true old school gentleman, right? So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I'm doing great at this time, right? And I'm taking advice from the guys closest to me, right? I don't have a dad, so you take advice from the people closest to you, and everybody's not qualified to give you advice. You learn as you get older. If you wouldn't trade places with a person, don't take advice from them. Especially don't take any financial advice from them, right? So I start selling properties, and running, blowing through money, blowing through money. So anyway, fast forward 2008, and I lose 72% of my 72% of my net worth, so at this time I can't sustain on 30% of what I was getting, so I got to go back to work again, right? Here we go. We go back to work, and so I got to find a job, right? So I'm actually wearing the landlord watch when I walk into a store on 47th Street in Manhattan, in the Diamond District, and I sell my watch for $3,500. Yeah. Well, fast forward right through all of that, and here we are now. today, I'm grown now. You know what I mean? I'm a grown man, and I run 4 companies that we built from nothing, from scratch, for no money, because we had no money, and I own several properties, New York, Florida, Miami, big Miami right now. And I'm free. I'm finally free. I mean, I don't. Things are better than they were, and as soon I was placed in this position again, I knew I had to get it again. I had to get the LandLord watch again. So I go online and I see what is the absolute best Rolex Submariner I can get, and the most expensive Rolex Submariner, brand new, is the solid gold ceramic Submariner. That's this one right here. Yeah, so I'm in New York City, and all included, taxes, everything, boom bash, out the door. This watch is just under $40,000. Yeah, $40,000 US. That's a long way from $1,500. So I go in, I pick it up, brand new, box papers. I didn't haggle about the taxes. Nothing. I paid full price for it, and I took it home with me. And this is my watch. This is the LandLord watch. This watch. I have other Rolex, right? I have I have a few other Rolexes. I have a Day, Diamond Dial, but this watch here is my favorite. I mean, because we've been through so much together, and this actual watch, will never leave me. Not again, because now things are different, and the only time I would ever get rid of this watch is if God blesses us with a son, and I would pass him this watch, and I would say, this now is your LandLord watch, and you don't ever get rid of it. You pass it to your boy when the time comes. Or if not, then just bury me with it. Yeah, bury me with it. And that's real. That's real. Okay, Georgie, that's my story. That's why I call it the LandLord watch. That's why this watch is very special to me. And, I hope that clears it up for you. And if you have a Rolex story, if anybody out there has a Rolex story, please leave it below. I would love to hear it, and we can talk about it. I'm Richard Prophet. This is the Prophet Realty Group channel. Thanks for allowing me to share my story with you. And have a good night.
Nice watch. Nice watch. No one Mr. Nice Guy. Hello, Mr. Nice Watch.